Everybody back to another fantastic episode of the Three Man Rush podcast. I'm your host, Landon Oliver, here with my two co-hosts, Andrew Scott and Jared Holly. And, just before we get started, we do want to give a shout out to all the people that are consuming this, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on, Amazon or Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever you consume this. We do want to give you a big shout out. Ask that you please hit the subscribe, hit the like button, show us some support, and comment, leave a review on things you like, things you don't like, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Andrew, do we have any new subscribers?
No, nothing new. Nothing new. We've had
Nothing new.
we've had some good traction on whenever we do have live videos. We've had some people lately come through during the live videos and drop some comments and hang out and talk with us. So some good channel traction on that, but no new subscribers or anything.
Well, look,
At least that are public.
Yeah, any of you guys subscribe. If you are public, we'll give you a shout out on the show too. That way you can be a part of the community with us, and make sure you're following us on Twitter as well. That's at 3Man Rush Podcast. And all of our Twitter handles are here in the video as well. So without further ado, we're excited to get into this. We're finally here. Football is happening this week here in a few days. Week 1 is upon us. So if you are unfamiliar, this will be a weekly format we're going to be doing where we're going to be previewing the week 1 early games, including Thursday night, the 12 p.m., 1 p.m. slate, which, depending on where you're at. And then later on in the week, we'll be doing the 3 p.m. Sunday night game, Monday night game, and all that, and giving you a full DFS show as well with Big Jared, our DFS guy down there. He's been grinding pretty hard getting ready for week 1, so we got some awesome stuff coming up for you. But this will be an every week format, so make sure you are tuned in. That way you can get all the breakdowns, all the matchup previews, all the great players that are going to be going off this week, some guys that we're not going to be high on as well. So that way you're making money, you're having fun, and we're able to provide you with some awesome, fun content as well. But yeah, guys, we're here. Week 1. It's upon us.
Thank God.
Yeah, amen to that, man. I couldn't handle any more of like the recycled takes just over and over and over the same shit for a few months now. Of just, you could kind of tell that everybody's ready for the season. So it'll be nice to finally get to watch the players show us that remind us that we really don't know as much as we think we do.
Yeah. Is Dameon Pierce the greatest running back ever?
Right.
Is Isaiah Pacheco, really the running back 1? Jared?
The hype trains.
The hype trains. They're off the rails right now. They are off the rails. We had Drew did a draft last night. I think Dameon Pierce went in the 5th round.
That's ridiculous.
Like that. Yeah.
So hey, he was named the starter officially today on the depth chart. So
I don't know. I mean, he's definitely gonna be relevant. He's gonna be a starter, but I mean, it's the Houston Texans. We have to put things in perspective sometimes.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, is there anything you guys want to touch on before we hop into our week 1 previews? I know Andrew's chomping at the bits for this first game here.
Yeah, I'm ready to get into it, man.
That's right. Jared, you got anything?
No, I'm ready for week 1. I've been ready for week 1 for a long time now.
Yeah, I've been ready for week 1 since probably about mid-February.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, guys. So our first game of the evening, or of the season, really. Drew, defending champion, Los Angeles Rams, facing everybody's off-season Super Bowl champion. It seems like that's the Buffalo Bills. This game, man, I'm so excited. It's gonna be they know how to kick it off right, because this game is gonna be awesome. So if you did not know, it is going to be in Los Angeles. It's the Thursday night game starting at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. And right now the money line is Bills minus 143 to win. So relatively even money line there. Over unders 52 points, between both teams. It's hard to argue. This is one of the games that I've had such a hard time getting a finger on, because we've heard all off season, the Bills are, they're favorites for the Super Bowl. The Rams with Matthew Stafford's arm, is he going to be okay all season? is Jordan Poyer going to play in this game? Like, there's just so many like underlying little things that I think all of it's kind of going to be put to bed here in week 1. So I'm gonna let Drew, not go ahead and go off on this game here, because I know you got some fun stuff to say about the Rams.
I mean, I am sweating about this game. Like the Bills are tough, and then they were my pick to come out of the AFC and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. So I definitely
Well,
think
Super Bowl preview for you, isn't it?
yeah, it is. This is a Super Bowl preview for me. So I mean, the Bills, as far as I'm concerned, I think the Bills have the best roster top to bottom in the NFL. So like it's, to me, it's very fair, the hype that they're getting. But it's I'm not gonna pick the Rams to lose. I'm not. Like, they're the defending Super Bowl champions. I've got my Rams bias, whatever. It's the first game of the year. I'm going to be sweating this one out the whole way through until the game starts. And I'm just gonna, like, I remember how much stress I had watching the Super Bowl, and so with this being a regular season game, despite the fact it is week 1 and it's a big game, but with this being a regular season game, football being back, I'm going to do my best to just sit back and enjoy the beautiful football that's going to be watched. There's one thing that I do think will happen. Well, despite both these teams having really good defenses, I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think that the NFL season is going to start off with a bang, and so I'm just going to do my best to sit back and watch it.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at too, man. I think I don't know if it's necessarily going to be like the highest scoring game of the week, because I think there's some barn burners there, but I think it's definitely going to be up there. And there's some things I'm curious to watch in this game, namely, how the Rams offensive line performs now, with some of the things that they've done there. And of course, Von Miller now going to be on the Buffalo Bills as well. They've got some young pass rushers as well that are developing there. So to see those guys take a next step, Ed Oliver there in the middle, he can be a game wrecker. Is Jordan Poyer healthy? Like, is that safety tandem with him and Micah Hyde healthy? I think their cornerbacks are really good. To me, this is the Josh Allen MVP campaign. This is when it kicks off, and it's going to kick off in week 1. I think it's going to kick off in a big way. All that momentum that they carried over from the Kansas City game, I think that's just going to be a season-long type of deal. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated and win every game, but I think this is clearly Josh Allen taking that leap into being the best quarterback in football. I think by the end of the season, we're going to look at him and Justin Herbert as like the two guys. And a lot of that has to do with, I don't expect Brady to be back next year. I think Aaron Rodgers, might take a step down, and I think Mahomes is. I mean, I'm not saying Mahomes isn't going to be in there with. I think it's going to be more of like those 3 guys. But this is, I think, the changing of the guard. I think the old guys are finally kind of fading off. Big Ben retired. Drew Brees is gone. Brady's more than likely retiring next year. Like, even though me and Jared called it was going to happen this year, and he did for a little bit, but I very strongly think this is Brady's last year. And then Aaron Rodgers, like I said, I think this is going to be a different type of Packers team. I mean, he's still going to be Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think you're going to see, the 40+ touchdowns or anything like that anymore. I think this is clearly transitioning away from that. And I think this is where these young guys take this step, and they're going to be carrying this league for the next decade plus. So I'm really excited to see how that kicks off. It's going to be fun. There's a lot of underlying things like the Bills run game. I'm curious to see how that's going to get used and utilized.
Rams run game too.
Yeah, Cam Akers. I'm curious to see how he looks, if he has that burst, or if he looked like he kind of did in the playoffs there, if he's fully healthy. So yeah, man, there's a lot of underlying Cole stories to watch for. And then I want to pass this down to Jared. So for DFS or fantasy purposes, are there any guys that you're kind of targeting in this? I know you hate single game slates.
I do.
But are there some guys that you think have a better chance than others to really make?
Obviously, in a single game slate, you're looking for like if you're playing a full slate, you're looking for more ceiling than you are with single games. You kind of need a mixture of ceiling and floor. How I kind of see this game playing out is going to be high scoring. So what I would do in this situation, especially if you're playing on FanDuel, which is very dependent upon touchdowns, Josh Allen is almost a must to play in the MVP spot because of the rushing ability that he has. One construction I did with a lineup actually involved using both kickers in the offense. It's guaranteed points. I think there's going to be a lot of times where teams do get stalled, but they're going to score, on 40-plus yard field goals. So I'd probably play Josh Allen in MVP, have Stephon Diggs and Dawson Knox in there with both kickers. That's kind of the lineup I'm leaning towards right now. I do like the Rams actually more in this game, but I think Josh Allen's rushing upside, you almost have to play him in that spot. And it's going to be hard to get to that second pass catcher if you play Cooper Kupp. So your elite option basically is Stephon Diggs, which is not a bad elite option to have by any means.
No,
so
pretty good player.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards for that game.
I like it. So there you go. Anybody interested in a quick little Thursday night single game lineup? There you go. You heard it from the man himself. So let's go ahead and pick the game. We obviously know where Drew's going, so Drew, just set it in stone. Who you taking in this game?
Yeah, I've got my pick 'em open on this other window right here. So as we go to the games, I can just pick them, and I locked in the Rams just a moment ago.
Okay, Big Jared.
I like the Rams. I like them being at home. I think they're going to come out. I think the Stafford thing's overblown. I think he'll be fine. There's a lot of concern I have with that running game right now, but at the end of the day, I think they get it done at home.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be the guy going against the grain here. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills in this one.
They're favorites to win.
Yeah. I mean, it's very even, but like I said, I think this is whenever Josh Allen comes out week 1 and he kind of puts his stamp on hey, this is my year, this is my season. Let's all just kind of get along for the ride.
I just hope it's as good as last year's Thursday.
I know, man. Yeah, I do. I can't wait. I can't wait for this game. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a great game. So excited to kick the season off. So now let's get into the 12 p.m. slate here. Or it was 12 p.m. We're in Central Time, if you did not know. But if you're in Eastern, it is the 1 p.m. Eastern slate here. So we're kicking off here with Saints and Falcons. And basically, it's playing in Atlanta in a dome. Both these teams are dome teams. Right now, the Saints are pretty decent favorites. They are minus 250 favorites to win the game. Scoring over under is 42.5. So what are you guys kind of looking at in this game as far as how you see it playing out, or are there any guys you're kind of looking forward?
He's a really obvious one, but I'm really, really big on Alvin Kamara for this game. I think that the one strength that you could say Atlanta has somewhat on the defensive side of the ball is their corners. And then with a mix of Jameis, who knows, with Michael Thomas, Chris Olave's first game as a rookie, and just kind of the slower pace of play that New Orleans showed last year with Jameis under center, I don't think they're going to throw the ball a whole lot. I don't think they're going to have to win this game, just because I don't expect Atlanta to be that competitive of a team personally. So I think you see a lot of Alvin Kamara and a little bit of Mark Ingram as well. And I think the running game for New Orleans is going to be really busy. So that's kind of from a fantasy standpoint, that's the part, at least on the Saints side of the ball, that really sticks out to me, which is, obviously if you have Kamara and redraft anything like that, you're going to start him. But I think he could be a good DFS play this week, and you could be looking at possibly a top 5 finish on the week for him.
Yeah, and the good thing on Kamara, to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, Drew, as far as the DFS play, right now he's currently going under 10% ownership, which Alvin Kamara has huge upside. There's a lot of people like this in the high range running back area. Your Jonathan Taylors and people like that are going to be extremely popular. So to kind of pivot off of that, Alvin Kamara is a great play, especially in that environment.
Yeah, for me, I am kind of curious about the Atlanta pass catchers, just because
I am too.
Yeah, just because I do think they are going to be down in this game. It's they're going to have to throw the ball. I think Mariota is actually a little bit underrated. I think he's looked pretty decent. in preseason, and it seems like they are kind of trending towards using him the correct way, as in, hey, we're not going to make this guy a strict drop back passer. We're going to get him out on the move. We're going to get him rolling out, get him mobile, and hitting these guys down the field as well, because he is a very accurate deep ball thrower. Anytime you got a guy like Kyle Pitts that can be utilized, let's just say I don't think Kyle Pitts is catching one touchdown pass this year. There's a good chance he already matches that total in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they traded, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Like, I know they got Tyrann Mathieu, but he kind of took a step back last year. I am a little bit worried about that Saints secondary. I think their linebackers are good. I think their defensive line is pretty decent as well. And I don't think Atlanta is going to be able to run the ball at all outside of Marcus Mariota getting out on the run. So the only way they're going to stay in the game is they're using Drake London, they're using Kyle Pitts, and they're going to be trailing because that defense is not going to be that great. So yeah, something I did want to, I was looking forward to is seeing how the Saints finally look without Sean Payton running the ship, because now Dennis Allen's taking over. I don't think this is going to be the game where you're really going to get to see that, because like Jared Drew said, they're going to be really run heavy. You don't have to get really, you don't have to get really creative against the Falcons, because that defensive line's so bad. You can just kind of throw out a generic game plan. So basically, like, I don't really think this is the game I'm going to be looking forward to see how their offense is really going to operate, because I don't think they're going to have to operate in a big way per se. So yeah, it's going to be some exciting stuff though. I mean, this does have a few matchup based things though that, like, this could be a really fun game to watch. It just kind of depends on if you're a player, like if you're a fan of players, or if you're a fan of like good football, because I don't know if necessarily there's going to be a lot of good football, but I think there's going to be a lot of really good players in this game.
Yeah, I really hope
it'll be really interesting to see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's to the Drake London point. I'm really curious to see what the Saints do with Marshawn Lattimore, because like he's the one guy in that secondary I have no questions about, and so it'd be interesting to see if he shadows London or shadows Pitts or just sticks to one side of the field, or what happens with that there too, because that could really dictate the success that the Atlanta pass catchers see depending on what they do with Lattimore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jared, are there any guys in this that you're actually kind of targeting outside of Kamara for DFS lineups if they want to do like a full like early game slate?
Yeah, actually, it's in a dome at the end of the day, and I'm huge on dome games. Personally, I think you could throw darts in this game at Drake London, who's going to garner no ownership, because me personally, I want to be first to the party. Like, I have the fear of missing out, and if this guy goes off and he's Jamar Chase or he's Justin Jefferson in week one, he's going to blow up the slate at like next to no ownership. They're going to trail. They're going to have to throw the ball. So he's someone I would definitely target. I like Kyle Pitts for season long, not so much for this game. I think for DFS purposes too, like he's going to be very popular because he's going to be cheap, and people are going to go off name base. Where if I'm going to play someone at that kind of salary, I might as well pay up for Kittle or not Kittle, I'm sorry, but for Kelsey or Andrews. So I'm not playing any Kyle Pitts, and I think Jameis is sneaky in that game as well. I do think if even if they don't throw a whole lot of passes, he throws some screens and they take him to the house with Olave, or Michael Thomas is back. He's a slant god, so maybe he takes one all the way to the house, and Jameis gets some cheap points at no salary whatsoever too. There's a lot of key players.
There's a lot of fun players in this for sure. So who you guys got winning this? I'm going to start off with Jared. Who you got winning?
Oh, Saints.
Saints. All right. So yeah, Saints across the board. Let's lock it in. All right. That brings us to our next game. This is going to be an interesting duel here of the young quarterbacks, and that is the 49ers versus the Chicago Bears. Going to be at Soldier Field. Still nice weather, still early in September. So not so much the cold, crazy weather. So going to feel a little bit more like California out there in Chicago. But yeah, so right now the 49ers are favored to win pretty heavily here. And that is minus 333 right now at the moment. And the scoring over under is set at 41. Not really a ton of high scoring games here, but with everything with the Bears, obviously the new head coach, the inability, they didn't really go out on a free agent. They got who was listed as the number 2 wide receiver today? It was Equiminius St. Brown, is their number 2 wide receiver on the depth chart at the moment, outside of Darnell Mooney. So I think this is going to be a very heavy Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney type of game. It's going to have to be. I don't see the Bears kind of sticking in this at all. It's going to be a long season, but something I am excited to watch. I am excited to watch these young quarterbacks duel it out. I'm really looking forward to seeing Trey Lance in actual, in his first start, where it's like he's kind of the unquestioned guy right now. They turn the reins over to him. I know they brought Jimmy G back, but I think that leash, if there even is a leash, is like extremely long right now. There's a reason why they took him where they did. It's going to be his time to shine. And obviously, we're big Justin Fields fans on this podcast. We both really like him. So I'm curious to see any type of growth out of him going into year number 2 as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a quarterback type of game for me where I'm watching these 2 young guns duel it out here, and there's not really too much outside of that I am watching in this. We'll see how the San Francisco backfield plays out again this year, because I'm sure it's going to be a mess like it always is. So any points in this game for you, Drew? I know you're a big Trey Lance guy. I know you're excited.
It's the Trey Lance coming out party, man. He's going to put him a top 10 fantasy finish under his belt right off the rip in week 1. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him, because he's not playing the Rams, which is the worst part about me being such a big fan of him, is he is a division rival. So I'm going to have to see him twice a year. So the games where he's not doing that, I'm going to enjoy those a little bit more. And I get to do that right off the rip week 1 here. So I think considering the Bears defense or lack thereof, I think he has a nice coming out party right off the rip. And I'm going to let the victory lap begin, because I don't know how long it'll last. So I'm going to victory lap it out right off the rip. But to your point on the Bears side, I think Mooney and Kmet, David Montgomery. I think you're going to be playing all those guys. You might not feel good about the last one, but where most people drafted him, you're going to be playing him. But outside of that, I'm not really touching the Bears. If you want to play Fields, I'm not a big fan of San Francisco's secondary, so I think he could have a decent game, especially if they're having to play catch up. But the Bears offense is just, it's gross, man. It's a reminder of why we were so low on them pre-draft, is you having to sit here and try to hash out what the team's going to do now. So outside of the main guys, I think I'm mostly staying away from the 49 or from the Bears. But as far as the 49ers go, I'm probably, if Elijah Mitchell's playing, I'm throwing him out there. That run game is just too good. And then, Jeff Wilson, obviously, if you want to fade Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson could be a good play as well. But the real interesting thing for me from the San Francisco side is just seeing how the pass catchers shake out, because this is a new thing with Trey Lance. We don't know who his favorite target is going to be. Supposedly it's Ben Ayuk, but now in a real game with all the weapons at his disposal, does he heavily target Kittle, Debo, Ayuk? That's kind of what I'm really looking forward to see, is seeing if we can pick up on what his tendencies are.
Yeah, something that is kind of weird, though, that I do want to touch on a little bit is, like, I do know the 49ers run game is always really well just because of how well it's schemed. But I will say Matt Eberflus, the new head coach, and he's more than likely going to be doing the defensive play calling as well. His defensive they've always been near the top 5 in the league at stopping the run. And with them having Roquan Smith back as well, they're at linebacker. I think this could be a pretty stout run defense this year for Chicago. I don't know if it's going to be super easy for teams to run against them like we think it is. Just because I think the coaching is he emphasizes run defense very heavily. And I think they have the personnel to be a really good run stopping team. On the flip side, I think teams are going to be able to throw the ball up and down the field all over the Bears. They're not going to stand any chance in stopping the pass. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a perfect game for Trey Lance to show off his arm. So I do, I'm probably staying away from the 49ers backfield unless I have one of those guys. Like if I'm, drafted Elijah Mitchell early, of course you're going to play him. But outside of that, I'm probably kind of sticking away because I do think the Bears are going to be a pretty good, if not top 10 run defense this year. I think they're going to be really hard to run against.
Yeah. Man, I worry about the pace of this game. That's the one thing I'd worry about for fantasy reasons. Outside of that, I think 49ers definitely get a win here. I'll go ahead and call that early. I don't think many people are shocked by that. I do like Trey Lance. I like Trey Lance a lot this year. I wasn't to the party as quick as you guys were on him, and I'm still not 100%, but I think he's going to have great games. I don't think it comes week one because of the pacing of this game and just it's hard to play. Like I like Brandon Ayuk a lot, but it's hard to know what's going to happen right now with San Francisco. If I was playing anybody from this game, I would take a shot on Darnell Mooney, just because of pure volume. I think he's going to get targeted quite a bit, and no one's going to really be on him at all.
Yeah. Hot take. First hot take of the episode. I think Cole Kmet has almost 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns receiving this year.
I mean, they don't really have. I mean, who'd you say their number 2 was?
Equiminius St. Brown.
It's a possibility. I mean, it really is like
I'm
that.
Super high on Cole Kmet this year.
They're going to trail quite a bit. I think they'll still lean on Montgomery a lot, even when they're trailing. They did last year. He was involved a lot more in the passing game than what people give him credit for, too. David Montgomery is not a great running back. David Montgomery is the definition of a volume back. He'll get fantasy points, and he's going to eat up clock. And that's the reason why this game worries me a lot for fantasy reasons.
Yeah, outside of the quarterbacks and maybe a couple of the receiving options, I don't want any part of the run games in this. So I think this is pretty clear. I think we're all going clean sweep here for the 49ers.
Yep.
Yeah, which brings us now to the Steelers and Bengals, our first division matchup here in the AFC North. Going to be really excited to watch that right now. The Bengals are favored at minus 286 to win with a 44-point over-under. This is another game that does kind of worry me a little bit from a fantasy perspective, because both teams, it seems like their two strengths are they kind of cancel each other out, and both the weaknesses kind of cancel each other out. So this, it is curious to watch. As far as real life football, like I'm curious to watch Trubisky, and now fully running the offense in Pittsburgh. I do think he is an upgrade over Big Ben from last year. So I'm kind of curious to see how they do that. I'm worried about the Steelers offensive line. On the reverse side of that, I'm curious to see how the Bengals' new additions on the offensive line pay off, because it's going to be a pretty big test for them right off the bat there with TJ Watt and that Steelers defensive line. They're going to learn really quick if those investments that they made are kind of fool's gold, or if they're going to make it through the season again with Joe Burrow. So there's just some matchups in this that I'm curious about. But outside of that, there's not really too much to say about this game. It's intriguing. Like week one is always kind of wonky a little bit too. Like week one's just kind of a wonky week. It's hard to get a beat on anything for the first month of the season. It feels like so.
Pittsburgh beat Buffalo last year in week one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like usually for me, it's like about week 4 is whenever I'm like, okay, this not really like a one-off thing. Like this will do. So I'm curious to see about this game as well. Drew, what are you thinking?
I think it's wheels up for the Bengals passing offense. I'm not, outside of Mika Fitzpatrick, I'm not huge on the Steelers secondary, and so my thought process is that new and improved offensive line is going to give Joey B time to work back there, and I think he's just going to pick apart that secondary. And I don't have a lot of faith in the Steelers' offense, being regardless of who's leading it. So I think I like the Cincy side a lot better, both from a fantasy perspective and from a real life perspective. And I'm mostly just staying away from Pittsburgh.
I agree. Cincinnati's a lot more intriguing. Like, I think they win this game hands down. And then I want to play Jamar Chase, man. Like he's gonna like. I feel like this is gonna be like his. Man, he's gonna go off in this game. I just have good feelings about that. I think Cincinnati gets it done. I think the game could be sloppy though. Like Lana was saying, it's a divisional matchup, and Mike Tomlin, he'll coach.
He is, man. They'll
coach him up, and they'll play hard. So it could be, just a sloppy game altogether. Not a whole lot goes on, but man, if fantasy reasons, I really think Jamar Chase has a chance of just going ballistic in this matchup.
Yeah, so let's give our picks here. Drew, I know you already said the Bengals pretty heavily. Jared, you going with the Bengals as well?
Yeah.
I want to pick the Steelers to win this. I do.
You're not going to.
I don't have the balls to do it. Actually, you know what? I am. I do have.
It's in Cincinnati.
Yeah. That doesn't matter. There's not much of a home field advantage there. Yeah, I'm going with Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh pulls an upset off in this. So
wouldn't be shocked, but at the same time,
it's a divisional game.
There you go.
I think they're a good coach team. I think Trubisky. I'm not saying he's going to be good, but I do think he is going to be better than Roethlisberger. So it's going to be tough. I mean, this one's probably going to bite me, but I just got a weird feel. This could be one of those wonky games, for sure. So now let's move on here to our next one here. We have the Philadelphia Eagles going into Detroit in the Dome, the Detroit Lions. Right now, the Eagles are small favorites here at minus 189, so it's kind of more of an even line than what people think. Pretty excited to watch this one as well. Curious to see the A.J. Brown connection. I want to see that Eagles defense, really that they basically revamped their entire secondary. It's going to be awesome. And on the flip side of that, man, like I think they're going to have a good test with this. I do think the Lions offense is a little bit underrated. I think they have some decent weapons there. I love their offensive line. I love their running game. So I'm curious to see, man, this does kind of reflect more of an even line into kind of what I'm thinking. I do still have a clear winner in this. But I think this is kind of the right trend. I think both these teams, if you didn't already know, I have both these teams making the playoffs. So this is a playoff type of matchup for me. And it actually would end up being a playoff preview because I had one team in the 2nd seed and another team in the very last 7th seed. So this would be a playoff preview for me as well. So I'm excited to watch this one.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith on the Lions side of the ball on this one. I think the Eagles defense is too good. Obviously, like I'm fine with Swift, I'm fine with Hawkinson, but
I think St. Brown's going to be really good too. I do.
Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and company. I don't want anything to do with the receivers for Detroit. I'm probably, if I can pivot away from Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think I would probably do that. Yeah, I know he's coming off like the way he ended the season. I know a lot of people's hopes are high, but I don't have a lot of faith in that Lions passing offense in this one with how good I expect the Eagles secondary to be. Now on the flip side of that, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, throw all those guys out there because Detroit secondary is cooked, and I think Jalen Hurts is going to come out and have a field day right off the rip. So obviously, the Hurts hype, I don't need to tell anybody to start Hurts, but Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, I think all those guys are going to be great plays this week, and I think there's going to be more than enough to go around with how bad Detroit's pass defense is. So I'm really bullish on one side and not so much on the other.
I think A.J. Brown's going to go off in this game. Like I do. Like I think that they're going to showcase him quite a bit. I think the Lions are going to
themselves look smart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Hurts, I think we talked a lot about, Josh Allen MVP. Jalen Hurts may be a name that's brought up towards the middle of the year, like with the team being as good as what it is, like, roster wise. And if they get hot, I mean, he could be an MVP conversation too with his upside with his legs, and now having a legit like number one wide receiver. And I mean, they're stacked, man. From a fantasy standpoint, we're gonna do a whole separate DFS show, but like obviously that's my field. Like I worry a lot. Like a lot of people are very high on the Lions, and I think they're gonna be a lot better of a team than what they've been last few years. I'm not personally playing DeAndre Swift. I know right now he's one of the most popular running backs to be played in week one. If I was to take a shot with any player from Detroit, I would roll the dice with TJ Hawkinson. I feel like if they get behind, they're going to have to throw the ball. Hawkinson does have upside at tight end. I know he gets a bad rep because he's been hurt. He gets hurt pretty often, but he's going to be under-owned. And the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, led the league last year against tight ends, allowing the most touchdowns to any position. Yeah. So that's something to kind of target. If you're looking to throw a dart in DFS and pay down a tight end, TJ Hawkinson might be a good play for you.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and give our pick 'em here. Who you guys got?
Eagles.
Eagles.
I got a clean sweep. All right.
Pittsburgh. Yeah. God, man. I love it.
I don't know, man. It feels like a weird game. All right, so another division matchup here. We have the New England Patriots against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. New head coach Mike McDaniel going down there. This is going to be a fun game as well. Some new pieces there in Miami, going to get showcased. Obviously, with their offensive line, they kind of revamped that. The running backs, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, the big one, Tyreek Hill, and another year of development from Jalen Waddell. Mike Gesicki still going to be out there as well, lining up in the slot. And this just seems like a fun. This seems like a fun game, especially probably for Drew. The Patriots kind of worry me a little bit in this game, just because I do think I worry about their offense from the aspect of I don't know if they have a clear direction, similar to where they did. I know Matt Patricia is supposed to be the offensive guy. That gives me no faith at all. Pretty much the only faith that I have in that entire offense is I think the offensive line, although I do think they take a step back on O-line, as opposed to what they did last year. I still think it's well coached, and I think the defense will be well coached. But yeah, man, this team just is not looking that great, because I do worry a little bit that maybe with the coordinators, and I mean, who knows who's calling the plays. I know there's been a huge mix-up even in the preseason. I don't know. And as big as I am as a Mac Jones fan, and I think Mac Jones is a fantastic quarterback. But I just don't think this offense has an identity. I don't think they know who they want to be. I don't think they know what they want to be. And I don't think the defense has enough high-end talent as well to be that top 10 elite tier defense like they have been in the past. They've let a lot of guys walk, and they've blown a lot of free agency money on below average players. Eventually that comes back to bite you. So I'm curious to see, man, if this team has a winning record, this might be one of Belichick's best coaching jobs, because there's not a lot to work with there. So yeah, to me, that's just kind of what I'm looking for. I do want to see if New England does tend to have an offensive identity, who they want to be, if they want to run the ball. I do like their running backs pretty, they're okay. And obviously, like I said, I like Mac Jones. I don't like their weapons. And really, I am super intrigued with the Miami Dolphins. They have so many high-end, high-caliber players on that offense, and I want to see. I'm sure similar to Miami, they want to see if Tua is the guy. I want to see how Tua utilizes these guys, and if he's able to get them the ball, in a more accurate way than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
according to Tyreek Hill.
You gotta love it. I think
Crazy.
other than the obvious stuff, I think the most interesting thing for me, as far as Miami goes, is just seeing how the backfield splits go, like how involved
Mhm.
Raheem Mostert is. Because if he ends up being more involved than people think, I think he could really throw a wrench in the plans for Chase Edmonds. Now, I
For a
still
couple
think
weeks.
yeah, until he gets hurt,
Yeah.
exactly. But while he's out there, he has familiarity with Mike McDaniel. Now, Chase Edmonds was still the guy they went out and grabbed immediately as soon as free agency started. He's still making the most money. Like I still expect him to be the main guy involved. I'm just curious if this turns into like a 1A 1B versus a a 1 and a 2 type of thing. I am really curious to see how that shakes out. Like there's really not a lot of questions in terms of the pass catchers, and Miami for me, we know who those guys are. I'm out on Gesicki, but
Yeah.
the two receivers, obviously you're firing them up. And then on New England, like I think I think Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris are both going to touch the ball plenty. I assume they're going to continue to just try to run the ball as much as possible. And then you've got the fun Devontae Parker revenge game narrative too. So
Oh.
throw
Gross.
those out any chance you get. You got to throw those out there. But
Gross.
yeah, I mean, good luck trying to figure out who the pass catchers to own and for the Patriots are going to be, because I mean you could pick one of 5 different guys and end up being right. So I'm probably just going to stay away from that if possible.
I hate this game so much. Like I do. Like this is the type of game I Landon, you probably like it because of the matchups. Like from a pure football standpoint, like it's interesting because Miami's best thing they do on defense is take away wide receivers. Well, they don't even have to worry about that because New England has no wide receivers. So you have that element. New England's going to run the ball a ton, man. They're going to try to dictate this game, and basically it's
Ball control, and
right.
they'll try
Miami's
to take
going
away.
to want to run at a high pace, and New England's not going to let them do
They'll
it.
try to take away Tyreek Hill. I think we all know Belichick, but I just don't know if he has the personnel to do what he likes to do, man.
Yeah,
Well,
good luck taking away Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely blow the lid off of.
Well, so can Waddell.
Yeah.
So can Mostert, and so can Edmonds.
That team is very quick, man. Like I just think New
England everywhere.
Yeah,
New England's going to control the clock in this thing. They're going to do everything they possibly can. I think Miami struggles still stopping the run this year, and that's what the Patriots do best. So it's gonna be interesting. But that's all I got. I have nothing to take away from this from a fan.
Yeah, I'm probably staying away from this one too. But that being said, I am going to take the Miami Dolphins in this one. Plus, like for some reason too, the Dolphins always seem to have the Patriots number. Even whenever Brady was there, like the Patriots could never win in Miami. So I don't really see that changing.
I'm taking Miami as well.
Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I like it. All right, Big Mac Jones guy, Jared Holly.
No, that's not it.
All right. So if you did not know, like the Dolphins are minus 182 in that game, so it's a little bit more of an even game as well. A game that is not even at all is the next game. That is the Ravens and the New York Jets. The Baltimore. Yeah. So the Ravens are prohibitive favorites at minus 303. Pretty big margin there, a victory. And I believe the point spread as well is 44.5. Basically, you would have to bet $10 to win $13 to win $3 for the Ravens. So yeah, it's pretty rough. I think this game is going to be an absolute disaster for the Jets. Although, needless to say, like Drew said, there is the Joe Flacco revenge game narrative against the Ravens. I mean,
it's a real thing, man.
It's a thing. So we'll see. I also think this is the Lamar Jackson, hey, I'm not dead yet, in case you guys forgot, I'm an MVP player.
It's contract year too, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. And I think he's gonna make it a point to
he's gonna come out and set the world on fire.
Yeah. He's gonna make a point. And there's no better team to make a point against than the New York Jets. The goddamn Jets.
It's got to be how Jets fans are feeling.
Jets.
This one has one of my, just as like from a player standpoint, the guys that I've been such big fans of. I
Get
get
Sauce
to
against Bateman.
I get to watch Rashad Bateman against Sauce Gardner, which for me is just like, it's two guys
Christmas
for the last
Day.
couple years I've been so high on, man. So I get to watch them go toe to toe week one. That's the beautiful thing about just loving certain players, is you can even find fun takeaways from the Ravens versus the Jets. So I am looking forward to that a lot. Looking forward to see how the Ravens use their backfield. You got Gus Edwards won't play, J.K. Dobbins coming back from injury, Mike Davis, Kenyon Drake just got signed. Like it's a backfield I'm not touching for fantasy, but I am curious to see how it shakes out.
And then you still have Lamar, who we know is going to be the best running back on the team.
Which was my point is you're playing Lamar, you're playing Bateman, you're playing Andrews, and then I'm not touching anything on the Ravens
Sneaky
side.
guy in this game too. I'm curious about Isaiah Likely, the rookie tight end.
I'm not interested.
No,
no,
not week one. I
don't know, man. The Ravens beat guy said there's a very good shot he's the third pass catcher in this offense. And so you got Andrews is one, Bateman, and then they said Likely's the guy. And this guy, he showed out in the preseason. And a lot of times that stuff carries over. Guys show out in the preseason, they get into the regular season. There's a lot of things there. So I'm curious to see. I'm probably not playing him week one in anything, but that's a guy that I'm really watching to see like what kind of impact he does make, because he's a guy that I think, especially in the red zone, and he's a yards after catch. Like
if you're playing the Millie Maker, I would play him. Like if you have 150 lineups in the Millie Maker.
I mean, he's a guy that I like. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if this guy caught 5-6 passes in this game, and at any point from that tight end spot, he can break guys off, as we saw. So he's a guy I'm curious about. I'm really high on him this year. Not necessarily for fantasy, but just more like a real life thing. I'm excited to watch Isaiah Likely play. So needless to say, let's move on here. I think we're all going to take the Ravens in this. We got any Jets?
Are there any Jets to play? Like I don't want to. Like I mean, the Ravens secondary, now that it's healthy, is
one of the best in the league.
Ridiculous. Like, so I mean, I don't want to play any of their pass catchers. Like in Breece Hall's first game.
No.
Michael Carter's still there too. I think that's going to be more split. Like I think later on in the year, I think Breece Hall separates himself, but early on, that's going to be more of a split backfield.
If you want to throw a dice on any Jets player, you want to play Elijah Moore on the grounds of just talent.
I would consider. Yeah.
But I mean, I personally, I won't be playing him either, just because the secondary is healthy with Baltimore, and that's a great secondary. Like there's not a whole lot to say outside of Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. That's who I'm high on in this game for sure.
Yeah. They're about to have themselves a day.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bloodbath there. All right, so going into our next game, this is one of my favorites of the week, and that is the Jaguars versus the Commanders. I'm so curious about the Carson Wentz experiment. But like him playing the Jaguars, which is basically the team that ended his.
He's gonna be out there doing his best Sam Darnold impression, seeing ghosts and shit.
Yeah, that team ended his run in Indianapolis. You might have a Carson Wentz revenge game narrative against the Jaguars. Like, Clown Town? Is that still going on? I don't think so. I'm really excited to see the growth from Trevor Lawrence this year. I think it's going to be night and day compared to what was last year. As well as I love that defensive line there in Jacksonville. I like Josh Allen. I think Trayvon Walker showed some really good things in the preseason as well. He played a lot better than what I expected him to be. He did not look, as raw as what I expected him to be. So I think he's got a clearly defined role. I think their linebackers are pretty decent. Their secondary worries me a little bit. So I think McLaurin could catch a few bombs because that's the one thing that, Wentz does is he will throw that ball down the field. He will air it out for better or worse, whether it's in triple coverage or not. He's going to sling that rock down the field. Outside of that, man, I'm probably staying away from everything else. I think Jacksonville's pass catchers could have a good game. Christian Kirk is a guy that I've really liked this week as well. And I think ETN, I'm excited to watch ETN play as well. I know Drew's excited for ETN.
That's the only reason I'm interested in this game is just getting to see ETN on the field, and that's it.
Underrated aspect of this Commanders team this year, if it's anything like it was in the preseason, those jerseys look fire. So I love the aesthetic of the jerseys. So I'm excited to watch the jersey aesthetic in this game because I like the Jaguars jerseys pretty decently. I think they got some good color schemes there, and I like the helmets, man.
I've always liked Jacksonville's.
I've always liked Jacksonville's helmets, and I love those new like the all whites they have, man. Like they just look so clean. So yeah, this could be a jersey aesthetic game as well. So I'm hopping on. What about you, Big Jared?
So I'm gonna throw some things at you real quick.
I like this.
One, play Christian Kirk.
Yes.
Kind of going back to the AJ Brown thing, established. They want to show you why they spent money on him, and this is a secondary he can torch. So I'm all in on Christian Kirk. I'll tell you the other thing too. I don't have a whole lot of takes on this game. I like Dotson a little bit. It's a dart throw. It's a big dart throw from Washington. But I like the Jacksonville Jaguars defense in this game too. I think they're going to cause some turnovers, which can lead to touchdowns as well. So I think there's a few things I really like, and both things are primarily on the Jacksonville side with Kirk and that defense.
Yeah, underrated guy too. If you're looking for like a super deep dart throw, check out Zay Jones in this game.
I
think Zay Jones would be a good option as well. All right, so guys, who we got winning this? I'm gonna start it off. I'm gonna take the Jaguars.
I got Jacksonville.
I do as well.
Awesome. All right, clean sweep for Jacksonville. When's the last time anybody's ever said that?
Right. What could go wrong?
Yeah,
exactly. And that's not even on win tape. That's literally I just think.
That has nothing to do with wins. I think Trevor Lawrence it's going to be a really good quarterback this year. I'm so excited to watch him. Well, to an extent, because we got to play against the guy.
You don't want him to be too excited at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. I want him to come back to earth next week. All right, so now let's get into probably my second favorite game of the week. That is the Browns versus the Panthers. Baker Mayfield.
Revenge game.
Yeah, you want to talk about revenge game?
This is the
ultimate revenge game. Baker Mayfield, this is either going two ways, which is why I'm so excited to watch this. Either Baker Mayfield is about to absolutely annihilate that entire franchise and just burn them to the ground, or he's just like Hindenburg level crash. It's just going he's gonna explode.
It's gonna be fun either way.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be so entertaining either way. What are you want to talk about money lines and all this? What are the over under that Baker Mayfield grabs his nuts in the Cleveland Browns bench's direction at least 3 times in this game? That's the over. I'm setting the over under at 3 nut grabs towards the bench of the Browns.
Man,
you think
I'd take the under?
The under?
Yeah.
NFL's a little bit different than the collegiate game, so
not in this. I don't think this guy's going to be able to.
I think he'll give him some good stare downs, but
he's touching his dick at least once in the game.
Yeah. I'll give you one. I'll give you one. This one's tough though, man, because I mean, I'm obviously rooting for Carolina. I feel like pretty much the entire country is going to be rooting for Carolina in this one, and rooting for Baker Mayfield. I've said a lot of things, not so much in Baker's favor over the last year or so, just about his play on the field, which, rightfully so, I feel like. I don't feel like, saying anything out of bounds or anything. But I do also recognize that he was playing hurt the majority of last year, and was playing in games he had no business playing in, and now he's had time to heal up. He's hopefully fully healthy. His arm looked strong in the preseason games that I watched of him.
He made some dimes.
He's got a nice array of playmakers around him, and the offensive line is like low key improved from last year. Like with Ike Ekwonu coming in, and then they
CMC's
grabbed
healthy.
they grabbed a couple guys in free agency as well to patch up some holes in that offensive line, and then you got CMC back as well. So I think Carolina's offense could be really interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that could be jumping on the Baker train after this Week 1 performance that he could possibly put up. That's the rosy side of things. The other side is he just falls flat on his face, and Cleveland looks like geniuses. And like even with the whole Watson stuff, if Baker just looks awful, and Cleveland wins this game, so we beat you with your backup, So I'm obviously hoping that doesn't happen, but it's a tough game to digest and tough game to kind of pick apart.
Yeah. So there's only one other guy outside of Baker that can completely derail this entire game, and that's Matt Rule.
Yeah.
Nobody can derail a game plan, it seems like, outside of Urban Meyer, than Matt Rule. I don't know why he can't get out of his own way. But yeah, man, like, I don't know. When I look at the Browns, I think clearly the Browns are the more talented team. Although I like the weapons of Carolina more than I like the weapons of the Browns. I'll say that.
Definitely.
But outside of that, I think the defense is in the Browns' favor. Although Carolina's a little sneaky. They got a sneaky defense. This is going to be a sneaky team. And Jacoby Brissett, that's what kills me on the Browns this year. So I don't know if you guys watched Miami last year with Jacoby Brissett, but out of 32 starting quarterbacks last year, Jacoby Brissett, I think, was like 38th.
He's really bad.
Like he was not good at all. And I expect that to continue. So yeah, I'm excited to watch CMC again.
Be good to see him back out there, man.
Yeah, man, this is like the most shares I have of CMC. So I'm excited to watch this. He's going to dominate. Jared.
Yeah, Brissett's not that great, but given the circumstances he had in Miami, he had no offensive line, and his run game was terrible. Where he's in Cleveland now, and he has a great offensive line and a great running game. So he's automatically going to look a lot better than what he did.
No.
He also has Amari Cooper, too, who's a great route runner as well. I hope Carolina wins this game. I don't know, man. Like, this one's tough to call. It really is. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say. I love Carolina. Carolina's players for fantasy, like they're Carolina's players.
I'll tell you this too. Whenever we do these every week, there's not going to be a single week that I'm going to pick the Cleveland Browns to win a game. So yeah, absolutely screw that franchise. I hope they lose every single game. So Carolina, put it on the board. Let's go Baker Mayfield.
I agree. I mean, I'm not going to be picking Cleveland to lose every single game, but I am picking them to lose this game, though.
I'm going to pick Carolina.
I like it. I like it. You slick bastard.
I don't feel good about it.
I don't feel good about this game at all. No. But I feel good about it from an entertainment perspective. Also, by the way,
game.
The Panthers are the favorites at minus 143 as well. So it's more of a even line. So a team that has the biggest favorite this coming up week. No, not the Houston Texans. Close. That is the Colts versus the Texans in Houston. There's not really too much to say about this game other than, like, if this game is even competitive, I think there's a lot of question marks. Although I will say this, something I am kind of curious to watch is I do think Houston kind of has a sneaky offensive line because they took Kenyon Green, the guard, who me and Andrew both really liked. I think their bookend tackles are really good players as well. So their other guard spot and their center spot, like, there's some question marks there. But outside of that, I think they got a good team or a decent offensive line. It's average, whereas the last few years it's been below average. That being said, now they have to go up against DeForest Buckner and Yannick Ngakoue and year 2 Kwity Paye. and Grover Stewart, who's one of the most underrated defensive tackles in football. So I want to see how this defensive line looks. I want to see how this new look defense with Gus Bradley is going to be ran, because apparently he said like he's not doing the whole Seattle cover 3 thing. Like he's basically evolved the defense, and this is kind of going to be like a new scheme we're going to be doing here. So I'm excited to see. And then obviously, of course, I want to see how Matt Ryan looks with that Colts team. Jonathan Taylor has absolutely annihilated the Texans over the last couple of years. I think just last year he had in the 2 games, I believe he had almost 400 yards, and it was like 380 something yards rushing and 6 touchdowns in 2 games against the Texans. So yeah, he kills the Texans.
That's tough.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So I'm ready to get the season off, ready to get this dub, ready to get the season started off with a dub.
Yeah, I definitely think that's where it's heading.
Yeah. Also, too, like if you're looking for a guy to play, Michael Pittman, I think Michael Pittman is a great option this week.
I think it's a bad spot for anyone outside of Jonathan Taylor. That's me personally. I don't think
they're going to throw more than what you think they're going to throw.
I kind of hope they do. I want to see Matt Ryan.
Well, I think they're going to, I think they're limit. Yeah. I think they're going to, because there is a lot of turnover on that offense, or like from the quarterback perspective. I think this is a good game to kind of not, grease the wheels a little bit in the passing offense. And I do think they limit that workload of Jonathan Taylor. They do not want him to have the workload he had last year. So even if they do kind of run the ball a little bit more, I think there's going to be a lot more Nyheim Hines than what people think this year. And that's in almost, outside of the close games, this could be a big Nyheim Hines game in this one.
I mean, the Colts are going to roll in this game. I don't even think it's going to be close whatsoever.
Yeah, I think if it's not close, I don't think they're putting unnecessary mileage on Taylor.
I'm really interested to see if the Texans immediately use Stingley in a shadow role, and if his first
shadow Michael Pittman.
If his first assignment is to shadow Michael Pittman, yeah, I'm really interested to see if he does that or not.
Talk about baptism by fire. I love it, and I like Stingley a lot. I think they got a pretty sneaky. They're better than they were last year. So
I got some sleeper picks.
Yeah, they got Dameon Pierce now, so.
That's right, baby. I'm starting Dameon Pierce in one of my fantasy leagues.
It's a rough week to do it.
Yeah,
there's some sleepers in this guy. I actually like if you want to play with fire a little bit. Paris Campbell, I think, is a good dice roll in this game. I really like him actually this week.
He took him deep last year.
Yep. And I think
he got hurt and missed the rest of the season.
Obviously, Brandon Cooks is always fun for fantasy, but if you're going to play a Texan, I wouldn't play the running game. I would play low-end players like Nico Collins. It's not going to cost you a lot of money, who are going to trail and are going to have to throw the ball a whole bunch, and he can rack up some yards.
They're throwing it against Stephon Gilmore this year.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's the Houston Texans, and there ain't a whole lot to sing home about. But
Plus, too, this could be a little bit of a sneaky game too for the Texans to score some, because, like I said, there's been a lot of new additions, key positions for the Colts, so it might take them a couple weeks to gel, fully. So
I think the Colts started off so slow last year out of the gate.
Plus,
they're not going to let that happen this season.
No, I think they haven't won a Week 1 game since 2013.
That's why I don't think they're going to get cute this Week 1 either.
I agree. So I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, same.
Next game.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Colts.
Yep. So that covers all the Week 1 p.m. slate and the Thursday night game. Giving you some options and some players that we like in each matchup, some guys that we're not a big fan of, some stuff we're looking forward to. And I can't wait to do this again here with the later on matchups, and then really get into some DFS lineups with Jared, because Week 1 is always one of the most entertaining DFS lines, because it is just a complete shit show. Nobody like it is crazy. Kevin Ogletree 3 touchdowns. You don't ever know what's going to happen in week 1. Sammy Watkins is going to go
He's
off.
going to play week 1 too.
Yeah,
Sammy
Watkins going to go off in Green Bay week 1.
I will not play him.
You better believe I'm going to have him in. I'm going to have him in one DFS.
If there's ever a week to play,
you better believe it.
Yeah, if there's ever a week to play him, it's just this one.
That's like the Mike Davis thing. Like I just can't. There's a certain things I can't ever do again. I can't play Mike Davis in any format. I don't.
You mean Landon's 2021 plant your flag pick, Mike Davis? That guy. Yeah. Yeah. Let's end it on that note before we for everybody realizes that we don't know what we're doing. Or at least me. I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, super excited to bring the other slate here coming out here in a few days as well. And by the time you guys listen to that, the Rams game will be over. The Bills game, that game will be over, and we'll be moving on to football Sunday opening day. Super excited. So thank you guys so much for the support. Andrew, you want to close it out? You got anything to say?
No, that's it, man. Just thank God we made it.
Yeah.
Looks like we made it.
That's right, baby. So let's go ahead and hop off here, and thank you guys so much for the support, and we will see you here in a few.